Yeah, so I turned the heater off right now because the sun was coming in a bit. That's my most efficient heater that I opened, and I am pointing it at a different heater that I'm not turning on just to maximize it getting hot and radiating extra heat, and the other one behind me is also closed. I'll turn them on maybe before I go for a walk. I have to go for a walk again. I'm super tired and uncomfortable right now from bloatedness. I'll go for a third walk from what I'm eating. Super sad news right now. I'm going to tell you that this is me filming right now part B of my last vlog for the course that will never be understood by you on how to develop an ecocentric worldview and why that's crucial to not only your own survival, but the survival of the biosphere. Totally lost on you. Okay, so anyways, let's listen to Sabina a little bit here.
Because they need less air conditioning. I talked more about what metamaterials are good for in an earlier video. Again, though, there's only so much this will do because we can't feasibly cover the entire planet with those panels, which is why people have come up with more ambitious proposals to get the heat out of the atmosphere that are basically planetary-sized air conditioning units.
So, I don't know if it was a year or two ago, and I don't know if it was in my Master of Science Ecocentric Worldview course, but I mentioned that I knew of a way using the scientific paradigm that is extremely cheap and that is capable of releasing large amounts of energy from within our atmosphere into outer space, okay? And I said that I don't want to talk about it until your species undergoes its maturation process. Yeah, the species I share DNA with. And the reason I say I've speciated again from you guys is not because my DNA is significantly different. It's because I've undergone my maturation process and continue to evolve within me the concept of sentience and sapience. At the beginning of this, like she mentions, and this is how I came up with the idea that this is be a brilliant final closing of the course, because it'd be proof that it's lost on you, really. So this would be posted on the same day. And today, by the way, is the 25th of February, and it's 3:10 p.m. on a Saturday, 2023. So here Sabina mentions some scientists from Canada that came up with the technology, and right away I was scared. And this came out a few years ago, this paper she was talking about, because it comes close to the idea I'm talking about, that I do not want to release in the world of science ideas out there because of who you are and what you do and what's flawed about the species I share DNA with. At some point, because she's talking about in this video called I recently learned that waste heat will boil the oceans in about 400 years. And, you know, that's the business as usual, keep going, overpopulation, keep going thing. Keep putting people in cities, don't teach them people skills at the same time kind of thing. And then, you know, it'll at least kind of have their numbers slow down as they kill each other a little bit, but they'll keep growing and feeding the elites and creating this gap in between kind of thing. Anyway, she talks about some counter terraforming methods that I definitely know will increase the speed of the onset of the Anthropocene, such as, you know, cloud formation. But here she mentions a few other things that are just ridiculous. And one way they're ridiculous is you can tell that not just, you know, like the military complex will say, we've advanced sciences of medicine. We've advanced this science. We, you know, like the oil industry, we did these studies that we hid from you by, you know, monopolizing the time of geologists or earth system scientists. And you know, every science pretty much has been hijacked to become weaponized, including manufacturing of consent through the media and online platforms, to keep people dumber and dumber, but make them feel smarter and smarter, you know, with the vehicles they drive or the products they use. And they even get away with making it that those products are like, they don't even last that long. They last less lengths of time than, let's say, a car from like 60 years ago with somebody that with their kid will just learn how to fix it up and refix it and get parts, right? It's really ridiculous as a species what you won't admit to. And anyways, the other ideas there are really just, again, mining for important minerals, and it never talks about what's flawed in our thinking, which would include using the scientific paradigms more efficiently so that you can pretty much stop mining for more stuff at this time. My first 1.0 time capsule in the appendix, I say we should already be shutting down certain cities and moving people certain places, and then recycling those places. So you don't have to keep sending your kids to die in mines and think it's so great that they have this job, with the illusion they're well paid, while inflation in all sorts of ways of things that will, let's say, make them learn other stuff becomes too expensive. Anyway, so listen to more, and I'm not finished with this video, but I gotta hurry up because I have so many things I had to upload. I have at least 40, if not 60, 70 videos that I've never put public yet that are already uploaded on my YouTube. And this will be one, but it'll be released right after if I succeed in getting plan A to happen. This is plan B. It's like the part 2. Okay, I'll explain very soon. Let's just hear Sabine a little bit.
One idea is a giant heat circulation that channels warm air from the surface into the upper atmosphere. This could be done by huge chimneys that would have to be at least 5 kilometers.
So she mentions a few ideas where, again, the business world will jump at this, including companies that help destroy the planet, like, Shell and a Chevron, and they'll jump at this. But the thing is this is such a ridiculous way to use science in a big way, because the big way moves the economy and creates profit and creates consumers and all sorts of things, and more kids that are dumb to be taken advantage of as the modern day slave of being consumers that are dumb. She even mentions something about tornadoes being used to channel heat up and manipulating atmospheric conditions to do this. Again, it's counter-terraforming, something that was perfect before we got here, or close to it. Again, not acknowledging the stupidity of our species and the Anthropocene. Anyways, here's the comment I wrote. This is not finished. Listen to this. This is B here, okay? And you might be able to see part A at some point. Here's what I wrote as a comment. This is over 2,000 comments right now. First, I would like to not recommend NordVPN or NordPass or whatever it's called. Second, here are the only 3 solutions to the Anthropocene, which we should all be talking about, including Greta Thunberg. That's not the way I usually pronounce it at this time. 1. Our species, as it is measurably capable of expressing sentience and sapience, very poorly as a collective, I'm talking about a species, at this stage of its psychological development, should not exceed 73 million in population, and should not be living in large groups either. Number 2, before our species decides to allow its numbers to possibly be sustainable between 2 to 4 billion in population maximum, which it obviously already got away with, should first have developed an ecocentric worldview, not anthropocentric, although we're even further down the primitive worldview scale at this point, and keep going the other direction. Meaning no more religions, no money, no nations with borders, all this stuff. Also, it must first have overcome its own stupidity and human chauvinism, so as to have been able to significantly improve its own understanding and usage of both the scientific and of altruistic paradigms. That means moved away from current intellectual laziness, which is certainly currently at developmentally disabled levels for such an old species with opposable thumbs and a huge brain, so as to have made waste energy significantly less than it is now. Number 3, or, somebody liked it, it was actually me, this comment, or, as we obviously do not understand important civilization building, mitigating words such as Anthropocene, sustainability, or resiliency, then our species must have learned how to use clothing sold here at questionable prices, apparently, efficiently, so as to focus on one science only, genetics, and then to be focusing only on altering the one part of the natural world which is broken, our own species. Not even the thinking part, just, our bodies. To soon be able to grow fur, hair, when the climate is cold, and shed it again, at a faster scale, like, a dog could do within a year, when the climate is warm and so on, until such a time, if ever, when we could undergo the intended maturation process inherent in our own DNA. Signed, the Doctor of Humanics, Professor-Marty. So when she mentioned those scientists, and she also mentions their startup company, which I looked up, and I sent these messages to them, okay, knowing very well that should I try to contact the scientists through the academic paper, or should I go through their business paradigm of this Sky Cool Systems company, which, by the way, had issues receiving my message. I couldn't put, like it said company, I put just not for profit. I had an exclamation mark and some dash or hyphen, and I had to remove it. But even then, it says make sure you fill in all required fields, and I did, and it still took a while to succeed. Hello! My last online course for developing an ecocentric worldview is coming up on March 1st, 2023. I am looking for one of you to take part in its recorded Zoom session. They might contact me just thinking I'm promoting their product. It would be beneficial if it was one of the original scientists who helped develop this technology. Even better if they were bilingual, Canadian scientists, in English and French. It'd be nice to do my last vlog bilingually, if that's the word. The Zoom recording does not need to be live because, low self-esteem, as it can be pre-recorded just between the two of us beforehand. And then the other part says, oh yeah, thank you very much. That's it. Okay, so I sent this already, and I've got the screenshots to confirm it. And the reason that I'm communicating to them through the business thing, and I hope, I'm not dishonest saying I'm excited about your products or technology. I'm saying this is my ecocentric worldview. And, the last thing I would very likely be saying, which you may see if I succeed at this at the end of part A, is at this point I would like to ask you to cease and desist from further studies using this technology because of our ways as a species that is just going to keep getting worse, and your technology is actually going to help the Anthropocene accelerate. That's what I would say. So it's not like really I'm proud of them because they're giving ideas to weaponize science for the business world, for industry, to therefore accelerate the Anthropocene. So here's what the site, which is, Sky Cool Systems, okay? And I haven't finished watching the TED Talk that they have there by this guy from India. As I'm here, with an Indian culture-related business here that is, basic math again is the basic math to destroy the generation of their kids is really what I see, right? So what I wanted to say is just this 13 minutes, 17 seconds TED Talk. I'm only at 6 minutes and 35 seconds. And I can tell you so far what he's saying, this guy, and I don't know if he's one of the scientists, he may very well be, or at least somebody that's comfortable going on a stage and explaining the science, if not one of the original from the papers. I'd have to look it up. I took a screenshot of it. You guys can look it up. But everything he says is pretty much accelerating business as usual to accelerate the Anthropocene. It has nothing to do, all the language, all the anthropocentrism, all the nonsense of things. And I could play one little bit at a time. And you know what I'll do? Is actually this video will become A, and I'll play this video and show how ridiculous it is as the B if I don't get one of them to contact me for the Zoom conversation. But here's a little bit of the beginning anyways of this Zoom video, okay? Of this TED Talk.
Every summer when I was growing up, I would fly from my home in Canada to visit my grandparents who lived in Mumbai, India. Now, Canadian summers are pretty mild at best. About 22 degrees Celsius or 72 degrees Fahrenheit is a typical summer's day and not too hot.
Okay, so I think he said, we'll stop there, 21 seconds. He said, and this was April 2018, by the way, so going on 5 years ago. So he said the average is 22 degrees summer, okay? And I'm telling you, this summer, especially globally speaking, it'll be hell on Earth, okay? And this technology is going to make it worse, and I'll explain why when I finish this vlog. Now, I don't know, you can measure an average temperature in India differently than you measure an average temperature for the summer, anthropocentrically speaking, in Canada. For example, you can calculate it more similarly by saying, okay, let's include in this calculation of the average temperature of the summer from this day to this day, even though seasons might be slightly experienced differently, you know, the hemispheres, the continents, oceans, you know, all sorts of things. But also the fact that, you know, Canadians live majoritively in these cities and not as spread out, let's say, as people from India. So you'd have to say, okay, let's calculate the figures based on regions that total 90% of the population, because that's what he's talking about. He's not talking about where nobody lives in a forest anywhere in Canada and nobody's been there yet. You know, you can't include that data. It's ridiculous. In the Arctic, for example, or something, right? So, of course, it's ridiculous, because if he did this calculation this summer, you know, and his technology is going to accelerate this, not make it better, if it comes out. And again, it's so dangerous. And one thing that slows down this danger is actually the business world. The business world would not allow the idea that I'm not giving away on how to use what this type of science could lead to, because he's still industry, he's still products, he's still things you need to buy. You know, he's economics more than scientific. That means he's magical paradigm, mental illness more than scientific. Therefore, cognitive dissonance. Therefore, not an Homo sapien. But the idea I have would only work if we had like a real world government, and it would actually be not that expensive to do, and it would be, as we work on other things, such as fixing what's up here, it would be a quick, easy way to get large amounts of heat out of the atmosphere. But again, it can't be done as we continue to live the same way, increase our numbers, and have, you know, magical money paradigms dominate. So, of course, until I'd see that, I'd never want to talk about that idea. But that idea wouldn't even come anyways. It's not going to come before, you know, the Anthropocene is pretty much preventing it from happening, and it's very close to it already. You know, not that we have nations that can collaborate or a world government that doesn't self-destruct, right? It's always been like that because, again, up here. But what's slowing it down right now is the idea I have can't work because it's too altruistic. It's too much related to life on this planet. It's too much related to minimizing industry instead of maximizing it as a solution, because it's not that expensive and it's not that hard. But it would require, you know, collaborations among a species that is one that is so-called being expressed to have, you know, been that great because of collaborations. Collaborations in the slavery system, I would say yes, right? The less people talk about it and the more they could take advantage of some form of slavery system, such as him using science to make a profit, that in a way he would never agree to a public debate with me about how he's speeding up the Anthropocene. Pretty much with every statement he's saying, I can pretty much destroy it, as people say on the internet, with basic logic. Okay, so I think I'll stop there for now. And this is my video that may be A or B, and I explained why. It'll be B if somebody agrees to a Zoom conversation with me. And it'll be A if they don't, and then I'll watch this video with you and stop it and show you how ridiculous every freaking statement is, while 99.98% of you would think it's people like him that need to have more babies to save the world kind of thing, because this miracle solution, which you guys don't get, is just going to accelerate the Anthropocene, is what is an example of the false hope you guys cling to because of your woo-hoo brainwashing up here.